Hi, and welcome to Terry Travels. Sorry it's been a while since I've done a video, but there's been a lot of family stuff. I'm going to discuss a bit of that. Going to discuss current events, but we're also going to go for a bit of a drive because there's a Vinnie's I want to hit and see if they got any movies. So what I'm going to do is turn the camera around to face the windscreen on this cloudy and unseasonably cold summer's day, and we'll get going as soon as I get my phone on and get the directions to go to this Vinnie's. So I'll just waffle at you while I do that. I hope everyone's been fine. Here it's been a little bit less cool than it should be. There has been family bereavements and things like that. And things like that. So I will talk to you guys as we go. All right, let's pull out and I'll just adjust you again. There we go. Enjoy the view. Yeah, so the bereavement thing with the family, that's been tough because the person who died is our niece Steph. She was 29, and that happened a couple of weeks ago. Sal was with her when she died, along with her mother, Kaz, and Kaz's partner Sean. And yeah, not easy. We knew that was happening. It was a slow and a horrible way for her to go. And then we had the service, and the service was down near Dever Hills at a Catholic church, and Steph's favourite colour was purple, and the jacarandas were blooming purple. And the service was pretty good for a Catholic service. Yeah, the service was good for a Catholic service. The guy doing it, Brendan, was really good at including people who weren't of that faith into the ritual and into the talk. Sal went up and spoke, Kaz spoke, Steph's sister Kalina spoke, and it was a good service. There were about 100 people there. It went as well as any service where most of us were believers. And so we, and at first there was the interment. So we went, and by the way, I was one of the pallbearers. So I escorted the coffin to the hearse after the service. And then we went to the interment at Springvale Cemetery. Six of us carried the coffin to the site and put it on a little cradle. There was a bit more of a service. And then she was lowered into the ground. And that's something I'd never done before. It's something that has an emotional weight to it that I wasn't expecting, and it really had a profound kind of effect on me because the weight we were carrying was about the same as carrying a heavy toolbox per person. And I kind of had this awareness that we were moving what was left of Steph, the last movement she would ever do, which is putting her onto the cradle by the grave and having her lower into the grave. And there's something about that that really sat with me. It was a good service at the gravesite. And I kind of learned and really understood for the first time what it means to hold space for other people, to help create an environment of listening and caring for the people around us, and basically doing that which is necessary during the service to assist the process and the ritual and the closure you get from a funeral service. I learned a lot during that period, and it was when Steph finally did die, when she was in the hospital, and Sal was in Maui with her at the hospital, and I was in Melbourne with my Sydney family who'd come down for the weekend. That had been pre-planned, and it just happened to coincide with what was happening with Steph. I kind of, for the first time in my adult life, felt integrated into family. Not only was my Sydney family there for me, my sister Linda, my brother-in-law Gab, my nephew Billy, and there was the family on Sal's side who were at the hospital. It was really a time when I integrated for the first time in my life, a real sense of being a part of a family, and a family that mattered, and a family that cared for one another in a moment of extreme need. So I went through some very interesting thought processes doing that. And I think I grew up that next little bit when all of that happened. It was good to be able to support family with it. And then we went to the pub, and there was finger food, and there was a bit of money on the tab. Yeah, that was kind of interesting because people were asking me, what do you do for a living? Because there were a lot of people there who didn't know. And the thing I did, which is something I did for the first time, is I said, I'm a YouTuber. And people kind of give you a blank look when you say that. So yeah, it was really interesting to say that. And then have people shut up and go, oh, is that a thing? Because nobody expects YouTubers to be in their 60s. People expect YouTubers to be, like 20-year-olds with mullets and mustaches. And I am not that. And so I had a bit of a chat about what I do, talking about movies on the other channel and things like that. And that was kind of fun. And got to meet some nice people, had a bit of food and a drink. And then we went back to Sal's parents' place and at dinner and all that kind of thing. But the other thing I wanted to talk about is what happened yesterday in Sydney at Bondi. And if anybody calls it Bondi, just hit them in the head. It's called Bondi. It's the original Indigenous term for the place. Bondi is not a place in Sydney that I love. It's very touristy. It's gone very expensive. It's not a place that's for me. In fact, it doesn't even have the best food along the eastern beaches of Sydney. But yesterday, a man and his son, a 50-year-old man and his 25-year-old son, went to the celebrations of the first night of Hanukkah, which would take place on the beach. And they shot a lot of people. And they really, it was an act of terrorism. And we don't get shootings very much here. Last one we had was 29 years ago. And that was Port Arthur one, which enabled us to get a lot of gun controls in. And this time these two men attacked a celebration for the first night of Hanukkah for the Jewish people and killed maybe a dozen people. It's still uncertain how many people are going to die from that. One of the shooters got shot and died. The other one got shot and is wounded. Is the son of the first guy. That's a profoundly shocking thing to hear us here in Australia. It's not something we have happen every week. It's incredibly confronting. Look, most of all, of course, for the Jewish population of Australia. That area of Sydney where Bondi is close to the synagogues and close to where a lot of Jewish people live. It's monstrous that occurred, and it's very hard for every Jewish person I know to live with that and to realize that there are people out there who are hunting them. And that's quite confronting and horrible. It's confronting and horrible for the rest of the Australian population, but in particular, it's horrible for them. Now, there is one moment of grace in that horrible thing. In that moment of grace is a man called Ahmed El Ahmed, who is a Muslim greengrocer. He runs a fruit shop. Is the guy who brought down one of the two shooters. He grabbed him and grabbed the gun and tore the gun away from him. You'll see the video of it. And Ahmed took 2 bullets in his arm and his hand for doing that. The other guy shot at him. But he actually brought down one of the shooters. More people would have died had he not done that. The guy's like a 40-odd-year-old guy with 2 children. And he stepped up and brought this guy down. He didn't need a gun to do it. There wasn't a Wild West thing the way Americans think it should happen, or some Americans think it should happen. It's a Muslim guy defending Jewish people from a Muslim terrorist. And that's very salient. That's an important aspect of this, because that's Australian multiculturalism in action. it wasn't about the religion or the beliefs of the people he ran in front of a gun for. It's about the fact that Australian people were being shot by someone and he stepped in and helped them. Or not even just Australian people. People were being shot at by somebody and he stepped in and did what was necessary. And it's like Wavy Gravy said in Woodstock when everything was going to shit in Woodstock. There's always a little bit of heaven in a disaster area. And Ahmed El Ahmed was that moment of grace in there. And the Jewish population is going to be dealing with this for a long time. Bondi is not going to be spoken in the same way in future as it has been in the past. It's been seen as a playground for everybody. You go to the beach, you get some snack food, you get an ice cream, you go for a swim. If you're an English tourist, you get sunbed because you're too stupid to put on sunscreen. It's not going to be like that in the future. It's going to be seen very differently. And that is the consequence of the actions of these two men who made the choice to do that at a Hanukkah celebration. It's monstrous, it's horrible, it's disgusting, and I can only hope that the gun laws in Australia increase as a result of this. And I think the Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese, may well be looking in that direction because there are, even after we had the gun control laws put in, there are an increasing number of guns in Australia, and we've got to really look at a way to deal with that. It's incredible. And I texted my sister who lives about 10 kilometres south of there in Maroubra. I texted her last night and went, "You guys okay?" And she said, "Yep, we went anywhere near it." I know that particularly my nephew Billy goes to Bondi, mostly up Bondi Junction up above the hill, but he does go to Bondi, and it's a place that's within his range as a teenage boy. But everybody in the family was safe. And I think that that's something that a lot of people in other places were doing for their loved ones who were in the eastern suburbs of Sydney yesterday. You contact them and find out that they're okay. And even though there are people who are going to get a horrible response to that, I felt that relief that my family was safe where so many weren't. But it hits us hard here, and it hits us in an incredibly personal way. And there are stories coming out of first aid officers and ambulance officers running in toward the guns to be able to help people. And the local club that's up at the top of the hill in North Bondi stayed open late at night to make pizzas for the first responders and to help them out and just give them a bit of comfort while they were dealing with somebody that nobody ever wants to deal with. So I just thought I'd give my reflections on that. It's something that's profoundly shocking still, and we haven't been kind of immunized against feeling that shock here in Australia. It's incredible, it's horrible, and things will be done about it. It's not something we're going to just give kids shooter drills about. Something we're going to have to deal with at a really primal level. We've got to find ways to work on this and to stop it, and to make sure that people who have that particular snake in their brains aren't able to access weapons that enable them to terrorize and kill other people. It's just something that's still sitting with me. And maybe I'm sensitive because of a family death recently, but I think that's not that. It's the fact that we as a country feel these things intensely. And also because everybody's got a video camera in their pockets. The visuals are there and the eyewitness stuff is there. And the other thing that's pissed me off about this, Ben, yes, there is another thing that's pissed me off about this, is that on the right side of politics, there are people who are using this tragedy for political leverage. It's happened with extreme right-wing parties. It's also happened with the major conservative party, the Liberal Party. They're actually weaponizing that tragedy to try to get some political leverage. And I've missed the turnoff because, of course, I haven't. I did it last time, okay? Yeah. It's something that inevitably happens. Right-wing political parties weaponizing tragedy for their own purposes. That shit happens way, way too often, and I don't think it gets called out anywhere near enough. They have to act with grace, and they have to act as the voice of the nation in a positive way. And too often, people of weak character will use that for the worst possible reasons. So I'm going to leave it there this time. I'm going to do a bit of a drive around. I will put it where we are on the map and put that up on the channel. Thanks a lot for being part of this and letting me vent. All the usual things. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, do all of that jazz. You can also support the channel by becoming a patron to my various channels at patreon.com/cherrytalksmovies. I'll catch you guys soon. It won't be as long as the last video was, or as long since the last video. But look after yourselves and hug the ones you love, and let the universe be kinder than it is.